Ombudsman role in improving good governance today. First of all, to begin this seminar, I would inviting everyone to please stand up to sing the Indonesian national anthem. To everyone, please stand up. Thank you, everyone. Please take your seat back. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Southeast Asian Ombudsman Forum entitled Ombudsman Role in Improving Good Governance. On behalf of Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, I would like to extend a warm welcome to His Excellency, the Chairman of Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, Bapak Muhammad Najih, the Vice Chairman of Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, Bapak Bobby Hamzar Ravinus, the Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, Bapak Johannes Widiantoro, the Ombudsman of Republik Indonesia, Bapak Robert Na Endi Jaweng, the Secretary General of Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, Bapak Suganda Pasaribu, and we would like to greet our dignitaries who are here with us today. His Excellency, the Chief of Ombudsman of the Kingdom of Thailand, Mr. Somsak Suan Sujarit, and the Ombudsman Mr. Songsak Seishwa, and all delegations. His Excellency, the Chief of Ombudsman of New Zealand, Mr. Peter Boshier, and all the delegation. His Excellency, the Deputy for Good Governance of Ombudsman for Human Rights and Justice of Timor-Leste, Mr. Ambrosio Graziano, and all the delegations. Her Excellency, Acting Commonwealth Ombudsman, Ms. Penny McKay, and the delegation. His Excellency, the Ombudsman of the Republic of Philippines, Mr. Jose M. Balmeo Jr., and all the delegations, and distinguished delegates from Prime Minister Department of Malaysia, Mr. Akmal Arif bin Zainul Arif. We will say thank you to the delegation from Indonesian Ministry, Indonesian State Enterprises, Indonesian Law Enforcement, universities, and all the attendees. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, this seminar will be spared in two sections, which uphold specific topic. The first topic is value dilemmas, managing conflict of interest in public governance supervision. And the second topic is public outreach, building trust and accessibility with the public. We would like to remind you as the attendees that this seminar has an e-certificate, so please make sure that all of you have been scanned the barcode in front of you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite the Chairman of Ombudsman of the Republic Indonesia to give an opening remark. So that to the Honorable Mr. Muhammad Najih, please welcome on stage.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi.
Good morning.
Yang saya hormati Wakil Ketua Ombudsman Republik Indonesia Bapak Bobi Hamzah Rafinus, Anggota Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, Bapak Johannes Widiantoro, Bapak Robert Naindi Jaweng, Sekretaris Jenderal Ombudsman Republik Indonesia Bapak Suganda Padapotan Pasaribu, Excellency Chief Ombudsman Kingdom of Thailand, Mr. Somsak Suwan Sujarit, and Ombudsman Thailand Somsak Sai Chua, Chief Ombudsman of the Republic of Philippines, Mr. Samuel Martires, Excellency Office of Commonwealth Ombudsman, Penny McKay, and Chief Ombudsman New Zealand, Mr. Peter Bosher, Secretary Executive Ombudsman of Human Rights and Justice of Timor-Leste, Mr. Ambrosio Graciano, dan Bapak Ibu seluruh undangan yang tidak bisa saya sebutkan satu persatu, tentu kami sangat mengucapkan terima kasih atas berkenan untuk menghadiri undangan kami di dalam rangka seminar yang diselenggarakan dalam rangka Southeast Asian Ombudsman Forum yang diselenggarakan sejak 2 hari yang lalu. Bapak Ibu sekalian, pertama-tama marilah kita memanjatkan syukur kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa atas berkat rahmat dan karunia-Nya. Kita semua dapat diberi kesempatan untuk berkumpul dalam seminar yang bertajuk Ombudsman's Rules in Improving Good Governance pada hari ini. Seminar ini merupakan satu rangkaian dari kegiatan SEAOF Meeting yang sudah berjalan sejak tanggal 12 November tahun 2024 kemarin. Para undangan perlu saya sampaikan bahwa SEAOF ini merupakan satu forum ombudsman untuk negara-negara Asia Tenggara dan kemudian juga kita kembangkan menjadi SEAOF Plus yang terdiri dari negara-negara kawasan Pasifik, diantaranya dari New Zealand, Australia, dan ke depan tentu akan kita libatkan seluruh negara-negara Asia Tenggara yang memiliki ombudsman seperti Malaysia, Singapura, Vietnam, Laos, Kamboja, dan Papua Nugini, serta negara-negara kawasan Pasifik lainnya. Forum ini dimaksudkan untuk mengembangkan organisasi atau peranan ombudsman di masing-masing negara dengan bertukar pengalaman dan bertukar informasi terkait dengan peranan ombudsman di dalam peningkatan kualitas pelayanan publik, good governance, dan dan pemerhatian terhadap pemenuhan hak-hak asasi manusia dan juga berkaitan dengan pencegahan korupsi. Seminar dengan subtema yang sangat relevan dan strategis dalam Ombudsman's Role in Improving Good Governance ini meliputi dua tema yang menarik. Yang pertama adalah value dilemmas, yaitu managing conflict and interest in public governance supervision, dan tema yang berikutnya adalah public outreach, building trust and accountability with the public. Seminar ini bertujuan untuk menyediakan wadah bagi dialog antar lembaga ombudsman internasional, terutama di kawasan Asia Tenggara dan Pasifik, mengenai tantangan dan peluang dalam mandat organisasi atau lembaga untuk meningkatkan tata kelola yang baik, mencegah maladministrasi, dan memperkuat kerjasama internasional antar institusi ombudsman. Bapak Ibu hadirin yang saya hormati, sebagai lembaga yang berfungsi sebagai pengawas penyelenggaraan pemerintahan, Ombudsman memiliki peran yang sangat vital dalam memastikan bahwa prinsip-prinsip tata kelola yang baik, termasuk transparansi, akuntabilitas, integritas dalam terlaksananya penyelenggaraan negara dapat dilakukan dengan sebaik-baiknya. Dalam menjalankan tugas pengawasan ini, Ombudsman sering dihadapkan pada dilema nilai yang kompleks. Salah satunya adalah bagaimana mengelola konflik kepentingan, intervensi politik, dan semacamnya. Hal ini juga dihadapi oleh Ombudsman Indonesia, di mana dinamika politik turut berpengaruh di dalam proses penyelesaian pengaduan masyarakat dan pencegahan maladministrasi. Oleh karena itu, di dalam seminar ini kita akan bersama-sama mendalami bagaimana kita bisa menjaga independensi, integritas, dan kredibilitas institusi. Sebagaimana kita tahu bahwa independensi organisasi sangat penting. Seperti kita ketahui juga bahwa independensi itu terbagi menjadi dua aras, yaitu aras etik dan aras kelembagaan. Aras etik tentu akan melekat kepada seluruh insan ombudsman atau pegawai-pegawai ombudsman, orang-orang yang bekerja di ombudsman. Sedangkan aras kelembagaan, disinilah yang juga tidak bisa kita lepaskan dari konflik interest, terutama dalam intervensi politik. Oleh karena itu, dalam mengelola potensi konflik kepentingan ini sangat potensial bahwa ombudsman akan dipengaruhi oleh dinamika politik dan ketatanegaraan yang terus berkembang di masing-masing negara, meskipun bentuk ketatanegaraannya bisa berbeda-beda antar negara. Sementara di sisi yang lain, bahwa aspek akses masyarakat, jangkauan publik juga menjadi hal yang sangat penting di dalam menjalankan fungsi-fungsi ombudsman. Akses masyarakat sangat penting untuk membangun kepercayaan dan aksesabilitas dengan masyarakat yang merupakan elemen dasar untuk memastikan bahwa ombudsman dapat memberikan pelayanan yang efektif dan tepat sasaran. Terutama isu-isu yang berkaitan dengan pelayanan dasar di bidang misalnya kependidikan, di bidang kesehatan, di bidang kemiskinan, infrastruktur, dan masyarakat yang rentan, terutama kaum miskin dan defabilitas. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, saya percaya bahwa diskusi pada hari ini akan memberikan kesempatan yang sangat berharga bagi kita untuk berbagi pengalaman, berbagi pengetahuan dalam mengidentifikasi tantangan bersama. Selain mencari juga solusi-solusi inovatif yang sangat diperlukan oleh masing-masing ombudsman dalam menyelesaikan tugas-tugasnya di masing-masing negara. Dengan membahas isu-isu ini, saya berharap para peserta akan mendapatkan pemahaman yang lebih mendalam tentang kerangka etika, nilai-nilai atau prinsip-prinsip termasuk yang sangat fundamental seperti yang pernah diputuskan di dalam prinsip-prinsip internasional seperti prinsip yang selama ini dipegang teguh oleh ombudsman di seluruh dunia. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, dalam kerangka juga perlu kita gunakan bahwa isu-isu yang dibahas sangat penting untuk kita temukan kerangka kerja yang diperlukan untuk membangun kepercayaan masyarakat, di mana sebagian ombudsman masih memerlukan dukungan dari masyarakat, khususnya ombudsman Indonesia misalnya, bahwa masyarakat masih banyak yang belum mengenal ombudsman itu sendiri. Kita harapkan bahwa di dalam diskusi ini juga dapat bertukar pengalaman, mempelajari tentang metode inovatif dalam kerangka melibatkan publik secara aktif dan meningkatkan peranan ombudsman dalam membudayakan praktek tata kelola yang transparan, akuntabel, dan partisipatif. Terakhir, saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada seluruh pihak yang telah berpartisipasi di dalam penyelenggaraan seminar ini, terutama kepada para narasumber yang telah menyediakan waktu untuk bertukar pikiran, bertukar pengalaman bersama kita semua. Khususnya dari sahabat-sahabat kami, dari Ombudsman Thailand, Ombudsman Filipina, Ombudsman New Zealand, Ombudsman Office Commonwealth, Ombudsman dari Australia, dan juga kepada narasumber dari Ombudsman Republik Indonesia. Juga saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada terutama komite panitia yang telah bekerja keras sejak beberapa minggu terakhir untuk menyiapkan fasilitas penyelenggaraan SEAOF meeting maupun seminar pada hari ini. Sekali lagi, atas nama Ketua Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, saya juga ingin mengucapkan selamat sekali lagi kepada Bapak Samuel Martires yang telah menerima kepemimpinan SEAOF untuk periode tahun 2024 tahun 2026, di mana sebelumnya keketuaan atau kepemimpinan SEAOF itu dari Indonesia tahun 2023 sampai tahun 2024 dan sebelumnya lagi dari Ombudsman Thailand. Karena itu terima kasih sekali lagi atas kerjasamanya. Semoga SEAOF ini terus berkembang dari waktu ke waktu. Demikian, kurang lebihnya saya mohon maaf. Bila taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi untuk kita semua.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Najih, as the Chairman of Ombudsman Republic Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to start the first session of this seminar by inviting the moderator Firstly, I would inviting Mr. Patnuaji Agus Indarto to joining the stage. Please give him a warm applause, everybody. Mr. Indarto, the stage is yours.
Cek, cek. Yang kami hormati Ketua Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, yang kami hormati Bapak Wakil Ketua Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, para anggota Ombudsman, honorable speakers, distinguished guests, pejabat tinggi dari kementerian lembaga, Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya mohon izin tidak dapat saya sebutkan satu persatu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Before we start the session, please let me invite the honorable speakers. First, that member of the Ombudsman of Republik Indonesia, Bapak Johannes Widiantoro, please come up to the stair. Please give applause. Second is the Chief Ombudsman of the Kingdom of Thailand, Mr. Somsak Suan Sujarit. And the third is the Acting Ombudsman of the Office of Commonwealth Ombudsman Australia, Mrs. Penny McKay. Thank you for accompanying me so that I don't have to feel alone here. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please excuse me for using bahasa Indonesia so that there will be no technical problem in this session. Baik, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ini adalah sebuah kehormatan bagi saya untuk bisa memoderasi sesi pertama seminar kita yang mengangkat tema besar Ombudsman Role in Improving Good Governance. Jadi pada sesi ini kita akan secara khusus membahas subtema yang sangat relevan, yaitu Value Dilemmas, How Ombudsman Manage the Conflict of Interest in Supervising Public Governance. Seperti yang kita ketahui bahwa Ombudsman itu sangat memegang peran strategis dalam memastikan tata kelola pemerintahan yang transparan, akuntabel, dan juga berintegritas. Namun dalam menjalankan tugasnya, Ombudsman itu sering dihadapkan pada dilema nilai atau value dilemmas, yaitu situasi yang menuntut pengambilan keputusan di tengah konflik kepentingan. Misalnya bagaimana Ombudsman tetap menjaga independensi meskipun di satu sisi harus juga bekerja sama dengan penyelenggara pelayanan publik. Kemudian juga bagaimana memastikan pengawasan yang adil dan tidak diskriminatif atau berpihak. Dilema-dilema ini mencerminkan tantangan etis yang memerlukan prinsip dasar governansi yang kokoh, kemudian kejelasan mekanisme pengambilan keputusan, dan juga yang terpenting adalah komitmen terhadap integritas. Dalam sesi ini kita akan menggali lebih dalam bagaimana Ombudsman bisa menghadapi dan menyelesaikan dilema nilai dalam praktiknya, secara khusus yang berkaitan dengan konflik kepentingan. Kemudian yang kedua adalah bagaimana prinsip-prinsip dan strategi yang digunakan untuk menjaga transparansi dan keadilan, serta kita akan juga mendengar studi kasus atau pengalaman langsung yang dapat menjadi pelajaran berharga bagi kita semua. Nah, saya yakin Bapak Ibu diskusi ini akan membuka wawasan kita dan juga memberikan perspektif baru tentang pentingnya peran Ombudsman dalam menjaga keseimbangan tata kelola yang baik di tengah tantangan-tantangan ini. Baik, untuk memulai sesi pertama, izinkan saya untuk memperkenalkan narasumber kita, Dr. Johannes Widiantoro, SHMH. Beliau adalah seorang associate professor di Fakultas Hukum Universitas Atmajaya Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Bidang keahlian utama beliau adalah hukum perlindungan konsumen dan hukum hak asasi manusia. Betul ya Pak Yohanes ya? Dan di mana beliau juga telah menghasilkan berbagai penelitian, publikasi, dan makalah yang dipresentasikan dalam forum ilmiah serta diterbitkan di jurnal-jurnal terkemuka. Selain mengajar, beliau juga pernah menduduki sejumlah posisi strategis, antara lain sebagai Ketua Lembaga Konsumen Yogyakarta dari tahun 2013 sampai 2016, serta Komisioner Ombudsman Sektor Swasta pada periode 2005 hingga 2008. Tidak hanya itu, beliau juga aktif sebagai aktivis di Pusat Kajian Hak Asasi Manusia dan Demokrasi di Universitas Atmajaya Yogyakarta sejak tahun 2008. Dalam 10 tahun terakhir, Bapak Yohanes secara khusus memberikan perhatian pada isu hak-hak penyandang disabilitas. Beliau terlibat dalam berbagai penelitian dan proses penyusunan peraturan pemerintah, terutama yang berkaitan dengan akomodasi yang layak bagi penyandang disabilitas dalam proses peradilan. Nah, saat ini sejak tahun 2021 beliau menjabat sebagai anggota Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, di mana beliau terus berkontribusi dalam pengawasan pelayanan publik di Indonesia. Baik, Pak Yohanes, kami persilahkan untuk menyampaikan paparan Bapak. Mohon kiranya dapat dimaksimalkan waktunya 10 menit, Pak. Ya, betul. Mohon maaf karena keterbatasan waktu, maka untuk itu waktu dan tempat kami persilahkan. Monggo.
Terima kasih Pak Aji selaku moderator. Saya stres setelah mendengar 10 menit. Tapi ya, apa boleh buat. Honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. I would like to express some ideas concerning with especially problems of conflict of interest on the Ombudsman institutions, at least my perspective as an Ombudsman. The Ombudsman is recognized as a flexible, as an independent state institution due to its adaptability across countries with diverse political, social, and constitutional systems. This adaptability is achieved by aligning with its country's legal and political framework. However, the integration of the Ombudsman values and principles into the nation's governance will naturally vary, and this depends significantly on the Ombudsman commitments to consistently uphold core values. The Ombudsman must maintain independence and neutrality, regardless of difference in mandates outlined by individual countries' regulations. The varying degrees of public and government acceptance in different countries should serve as a challenge for the Ombudsman to remain steadfast in its essential values. Independence and neutrality, key principle of the Ombudsman, should be non-negotiable because these principles are intrinsic to the Ombudsman's identity, no matter where it operates. Therefore, maintaining independence remains a significant challenge for the Ombudsman, including in Indonesia. The current social, political, and economic landscape in Indonesia presents substantial challenge for Ombudsman of the Republic of Indonesia in fulfilling its role. As an independent institution overseeing public services, ORI, Ombudsman of the Republic of Indonesia, continues to face obstacles, particularly in addressing corruption among state and government officials. Corrupt practice persists at various levels of government, including village, city, district, and also national levels. To function effectively as an independent oversight institution in this environment, a strong ombudsman figure is required. One who demonstrates professionalism, integrity, and justice. It demands an ombudsman who is courageous, resolute and committed to upholding the principles of the institutions, including a sound understanding of conflict of interest. Although established 24 years ago, Indonesia's Ombudsman has yet to make a substantial impact in fostering a government and public services environment free of corruption. Even after 25 years of reform or reformation in Indonesia and the creation of independent state institutions, including Ombudsman, corruptions remain prevalent. This issue is attributed to the low ethical standard among some public officials alongside a gap between regulations and actual enforcement. Figures who are clean and respected for their integrity and independence remain relatively rare. This is closely tied to the selection process used to choose suitable individuals for the role of the Ombudsman. The methods of selecting and appointing an Ombudsman are crucial. However, strong profiles, track records, and genuine motivations are often overridden by the political interests of the final decision makers. Ensuring the independence of the selection committee are a representative of the government or state remains challenging. Consequently, at least in Indonesia, there is no assurance that all Ombudsman staff have the necessary understanding of the institution's role, duties, or required ethical standards. In addition to ongoing capacity building initiative, a robust internal monitoring system is essential, including clear guidelines to prevent conflict of interest. Understanding conflict of interest is crucial. Backgrounds and personal assumptions can significantly impact individuals' views on conflict of interest. Some may see conflict as innocuous, indicating a poor understanding of the concept. It is imperative that Ombudsman officials comprehend conflict of interest, recognizing that personal interests should not interfere with their duty to serve the public impartially. Therefore, both internal and external control mechanisms are essential. A code of ethics alone is insufficient, nor can the institution rely solely on the wisdom of its leadership. Active participation from Ombudsman staff in internal controls is vital. Addressing conflict of interest requires serious attention, including engagement from external stakeholders who, as representatives of public sovereignty, hold a crucial role also. Those within the Ombudsman should have a strong understanding of conflict of interest. They are expected to recognize situations where they might have or could be perceived as having a conflict of interest. Without this awareness, they don't belong in the Ombudsman, as their presence would undermine public trust. Losing public trust in the Ombudsman could render the institution ineffective and ultimately without purpose. The lack of awareness around anti-maladministration and anti-corruption efforts must be continuously challenged. The Ombudsman must demonstrate integrity, actively distancing itself from corrupt practices to gain and sustain public trust. In an environment where subordinates often condone superiors' actions, even when they recognize conflict of interest, accountability mechanisms frequently fail. To maintain motivation and performance, clear guidelines, including punitive measures around conflict of interest, are essential. The Ombudsman authority is vulnerable to abuse, particularly by those driven by greed. Such actions reflect a disregard for conflict of interest and a violation of the Ombudsman's fundamental principles, often justified or manipulated for personal gain. Moreover, in Indonesia, there are no explicit regulation providing penalties or administrative sanctions for public officials who fail to disclose conflict of interest. Such enforcement may seem unnecessary if officials uphold high moral and ethical standards, but few would voluntarily step down. In summary, the greatest challenge for the Ombudsman, particularly in Indonesia, is the consistent preservation of its independence and integrity. Properly understanding and managing conflict of interest is critical to fulfilling its duties. Strengthening regulation and sanctions in relation to conflict of interest is essential to the institution's credibility. The integrity of the Ombudsman ultimately relies on its ability to address conflict of interest transparently and objectively. Thank you very much for your attention.
Terima kasih Pak Yohanes.
Thank you, Pak Yohanes.
Waktunya pas, Pak.
Right on.
Baik, itu tadi paparan yang disampaikan Pak Yohanes. Saya mencatat ada 3 hal penting yang disampaikan oleh Pak Yohanes dalam paparannya. Yang pertama adalah bagaimana kita perlu untuk mencegah konflik of interest justru dimulai sejak pemilihan dari pimpinan Ombudsman itu sendiri ya Pak. Kemudian yang kedua adalah bagaimana pentingnya peran mekanisme kontrol internal dan eksternal dalam mencegah potensi dari konflik of interest. Dan yang terakhir adalah menurunnya kepercayaan publik itu harus betul-betul menjadi pertimbangan untuk menjaga Ombudsman dari potensi konflik of interest. Baik, terima kasih. Kita akan melanjutkan kepada sesi yang kedua. Izinkan saya untuk juga memperkenalkan narasumber yang kedua, Mr. Somsak Swan Sujarit, yang memiliki pengalaman luar biasa di dalam pelayanan di bidang pelayanan publik dan juga pengawasan tata kelola pemerintahan. Beliau lahir pada 14 Oktober 1955 dan telah menerima penghargaan bergengsi dari kerajaan Thailand yaitu Knight Grand Cordon Special Class. Dan secara akademik beliau memiliki latar belakang pendidikan yang kuat termasuk gelar sarjana ilmu politik dari Chiang Mai University dan 2 gelar magister di bidang administrasi publik dan ilmu politik dari universitas terkemuka di Thailand, serta berbagai sertifikat profesional dan pelatihan kepemimpinan tingkat tinggi. Karir pemerintahan beliau dimulai sejak tahun 1978 sebagai analis di kantor Komisi Pelayanan Sipil Thailand, dan sejak itu beliau telah menduduki berbagai posisi penting seperti gubernur di 5 provinsi termasuk Khon Kaen, Kalasin, dan Rayong, di mana beliau memimpin berbagai inisiatif pembangunan. Kemudian sebagai Direktur Jenderal dan Wakil Direktur Jenderal di beberapa departemen seperti Administrasi Provinsi dan Pencegahan Bencana, Ketua Ombudsman Thailand sejak 2021 dengan tanggung jawab untuk memastikan pengawasan pelayanan publik berjalan dengan baik. Selama menjabat sebagai gubernur, beliau menunjukkan kepemimpinan yang luar biasa, termasuk memberikan perlindungan kepada warga yang terkena dampak konflik perbatasan Thailand-Kamboja pada 2011. Sebagai ombudsman, beliau memprakarsai program peningkatan keterampilan vokasi bagi pelajar yang tidak melanjutkan pendidikan setelah lulus sekolah wajib, yang bertujuan meningkatkan keterampilan mereka untuk masuk ke pasar kerja sebagai tenaga kerja terampil. Dan program ini telah berhasil menjangkau 76 provinsi di Thailand. Beliau juga berperan penting secara internasional dan saat ini menjabat sebagai Asian Regional President of IOI atau International Ombudsman Institute, di mana beliau mendorong kolaborasi antar ombudsman di tingkat global. Kami merasa sangat terhormat untuk menghadirkan beliau di forum ini. Mr. Somsak, your time presentation is 10 minutes maximum. Time is yours.
Please allow me to, first of all, to say and convey my gratitude to the Indonesian Ombudsman and for allowing us to have this seminar here today with these very useful topics here today, and in carrying out our jobs and our role as the Ombudsman and also as officers. So with the first topic that we're discussing here today, I have the honor and I am very pleased today to be able to share with you all about the values dilemma. And in carrying out my job as the Ombudsman, and in all of us carrying out our work with the Ombudsman, I'm sure that we have gone through what we call the values dilemma all the time in resolving issues and also with injustice and also with public unrest in relation to public institutions. And so this is the value dilemmas that we need to discuss, and looking at the different rules and regulations of the government agencies compared to what is being actually experienced by the population and what their rights are. So on this topic, I would like to share my experience in dealing with an issue of our population in a particular area in Thailand. And there was an impact at this time. It was impacted by value dilemmas. I'll give you an example here. So I had to choose between environmental preservation, particularly for the forest area, and then also juggling that with the right to settle and to live and to make a living in that area. So this particular case study, this relates to the issues and the difficulties experienced by the community, because there had been the Taplan National Park had been actually set in that area, and that was actually overlapping with a residential area where they had farming lands, and farming was carried out by the residents there. Now, prior to this, they had already lived in this area prior to it officially being made into a national park. Now, the issue with this community, in 1981, the forestry department at that time had marked the land that was no longer useful land, and where they'd actually lost its land and forestry rights, and it was already dry. And so they allowed the people to reside there, and they could use it as a village, and they could create a school there. And there's a hospital. There's also rice paddies there. So that permission was granted by the forestry department. However, after that, the forestry department then created the boundaries for the Taplan National Park without actually doing a site visit and actually looking at the boundary markers there in terms of actually setting out the boundaries of the national park. They just relied on what they had from the central government level. And so they were not aware of what of the particular boundary definitions they'd made, and there was actually forestry areas that was no longer productive, and the residents had been living there for quite some time now, and that was actually a residential area. There were already government offices there were schools, there was a temple. However, they made those boundary markers and defined it as a national park. And this occurred because the government officials did not actually go on the ground and actually look at the boundary areas there. But once it was actually passed in the law, it was already passed into law. And then, because it was passed into law, that it means that the boundary markers there would become official, and then there would be arrests were made by public officials because they were considered to be trespassing based on the law. And the government felt very disadvantaged, and because there were continual arrests And so they made a report to us, a complaint to us. And so for many years, they tried to take it to the courts.
ช่วงระยะหนึ่งจึงได้มาร้องเรียน
And it got to a particular point in time, and eventually they made the complaint to the Thai Ombudsman to assist them in resolving this issue.
ไปทับซ้อนที่ทำกินของชาวบ้าน
So it was regarding this overlapping land claim to do with the national park there. And so that's, at that time, the Thai Ombudsman, we put together a working team and we went down to the ground and we looked at the particular situation there. And we could see the boundary markers there for the national park. And we saw that what they did was not right.
จึงมีข้อเสนอ
And we could see on the ground that they had not done the right thing. And so that's why we recommended that the forestry department could actually reconsider the land at the boundaries, and if they could hand back that unproductive land back to the community. And so indeed,
ก็เห็นปัญหานี้เช่น
there was also military in that district, and they actually saw the same issues at play. And so from the local military, they actually recommended this to the forestry department, that this be reviewed, that these markers, the boundaries actually be reviewed. And at that time, the forestry department, they actually took on the recommendations from the Ombudsman and also from the local military team working there. And in the end, what they did is that they had a joint task force, so it was made up of the government and also of the community itself. They were all involved in this together to go
ที่เป็นจริงในพื้นที่
to the ground, to the field, and actually see the boundaries there in the national park there, and looking at the ones of which were residential areas, which were farming areas that were used by the community prior to it becoming a national park, and those areas were then taken out of the national park because they understood that they had made mistakes in actually defining the national park area. And then
ออกจากเขต
when we were trying to differentiate between the residential area compared to the national park area at the time. So when we did that field visit, we actually could see that there was actually forestry areas that were still protected areas and productive areas, but they were not actually made to be part of the national park. And so that's why we also made submissions that there need to be these protected forestry areas that should actually be added to that, to the national park. And then we agreed from then on that there should be changes to the boundaries of the Tapla National Park by using, we used the results of that joint task force there in 2000. So what we jointly decided on together to be the boundary markers. But then it turns out that there was another change which occurred. So before the forestry department actually made these new boundaries, it turned out that that year we had a political reform and change that happened that year, and so the forestry department was divided into two.
กรมอุทยานแห่งชาติสัตว์
And so there was a specific department for national parks and conservation.
เขตจะไปอยู่กับหน่วยงานตั้งใหม่คือกรม
But the ones that actually deal with the law was that new department, so the Department for National Parks and Conservation. So we understand when you have a new department which is put together, they're not going to be prioritizing these issues, and they will not take that to the minister or to the parliament. And so
ในขณะเดียวกัน
they continue to use the old boundaries for the park. And also at that time, the government was still making arrests of people that were trespassing
ประชาชน
the national park's new boundaries, or the boundaries that they made. And so there was then the community then made a new submission to the Ombudsman. And so the Ombudsman, we coordinated with the relevant agencies, and we maintain with our recommendation that we have to use the boundaries that are in line with what's happening on the ground, and we have to use those boundary markers that we actually defined in 2000, which we did with the Joint Task Force, and so that the rights of the residents and the people that are already living in that region, who are legally living in that area, and their right to make a living, that's actually regulated under the law.
ก็ได้
And so on that occasion, finally, the Ombudsman made that direct submission to the ministry, and the minister immediately agreed with the submission from the Thai Ombudsman, And eventually,
คณะกรรมการ
that was then handed over to another ministry, that is the National Land Agency, so the agency that particularly deals with land issues. And they took with them this very sophisticated and state-of-the-art equipment with them to actually make the boundary markers, and they did that site visit. And they were using the markers that were actually agreed upon in 2000. So they reaffirmed the markers that we did in 2000. And now we are waiting for the new law that will be passed soon based on the recommendations of the Ombudsman. And I would like to really, I was wanting to take on this story so that we can actually see that when the Ombudsman is at work, we will, for sure, we will go through various different dimensions, and we will see where there's public agencies which are trying to do their job.
กรณีตัวอย่างนี้เนี่ยการหวงแหน
And particularly in this case, when we were trying to safeguard the forest and also doing natural resource conservation and to maintain and to safeguard the ecosystem, we need to make sure that we are also not violating the rights of residents to make a living for people that have already been living in that particular area before that was actually made and designated as the Taplan National Park.
ประเด็นที่ต้องต่อสู้กัน
Now
ยา
this
วนานนับ10
was a particular topic that we just fought for this over years and years, for tens of years, and
ในอีกมิติหนึ่ง
the government institutions, they were really trying to maintain what they were doing and doing their job. But on the other hand, we were also afraid that a domino effect could occur because of errors in terms of the boundary marker definitions that were made. And perhaps in other national parks, there are similar issues where the boundaries of those national parks
ไม่ได้ออกไปสำรวจก็จะมีปัญหา
were based on where they've actually made the national parks based on national level data, and they haven't done direct site visits. But
จริงในพื้นที่
and they use the defense. They say, no, what we've done is correct, but actually in reality, it's not. And the people, they already had that right prior to those areas being designated as national
ท้าย
parks.
ที่สุดเนี่ยก็ด้วยข้อเท็จจริงในการที่
And
จะต้อง
then with the facts that we were able to get from those site visits, and then we actually put that into that direct recommendation to the decision maker themselves, to the relevant minister,
คณะรัฐมนตรีได้
to the relevant ministers. And so on this occasion, the minister agreed to this and actually recognized history and also the recommendations that were made by the Ombudsman and
แต่
that were designated in 2000.
ชอบปัจจุบันไม่พยายามที่จะ
However,
ยอมรับในสิ่งที่
the conservation department at that time did not want to adhere to that. However, in the end, the minister agreed with the recommendation that we put forward. So this is a particular case that we can see value dilemmas at play here about how to actually
ที่ไปกระทบ
follow the regulations of public officials and of the government, and how that actually impacts the rights of livelihood for the community.
คุณครับ
That is actually regulated by the government. Thank you.
Kita beri aplaus Bapak Ibu sekalian. Thank you Mr. Somsak for the presentation. I'm sorry that I have to cut this your presentation because of the limited of time. Tapi Bapak Ibu sekalian, yang menarik adalah dari apa
But
yang
what was really
dikatakan
interesting,
oleh
what we heard from the presentation just now of the Thai
bahwa pendekatan ombudsman itu
Ombudsman's
tidak
chief
bisa
ombudsman,
hanya didasarkan
that
pada satu
what
aspek saja gitu ya,
we are
hukum
doing
misalnya.
cannot just be based on one particular
Jadi
aspect.
tidak kaku,
It's not based on
tetapi bagaimana pendekatan ombudsman dalam menyelesaikan permasalahan terutama warga yang lemah secara hukum itu bisa secara komprehensif termasuk dari sisi kemanusiaan. Dan ini menjadi satu hal yang menarik di dalam diskusi kita pada sesi pagi hari ini. Terima kasih sekali lagi Mr. Somsak untuk paparan yang telah diberikan. Baik Bapak Ibu yang terhormat, kemudian izinkan saya memperkenalkan narasumber kita yang ketiga, Mrs. Penny McKay, yang saat ini menjabat sebagai Acting Ombudsman of the Office of Commonwealth Ombudsman Australia. Jadi sebelumnya beliau menjabat sebagai Deputy Commonwealth Ombudsman sejak 10 Agustus 2020, dan karir pelayanan publik Mrs. McKay ini mencakup pengalaman luas di berbagai lembaga pemerintahan Australia, baik di tingkat federal maupun wilayah negara bagian dan teritori. Beliau pernah berkarir sebagai jaksa pidana di Australian Capital Territory atau ACT, Northern Territory, dan Queensland. Selain itu, Mrs. McKay juga memegang posisi senior di Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions dan ACT Justice and Community Safety Directorate, serta pernah menjabat sebagai General Counsel di Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity. Sebelum diangkat sebagai Deputy Ombudsman, Mrs. McKay bertanggung jawab atas Divisi Integrity, Security and Assurance di Department of Home Affairs. Dan di tahun 2021 sampai 2022, beliau juga menjalankan tugas sebagai Acting Commonwealth Ombudsman selama 12 bulan. Jadi dengan pengalaman luas di bidang kebijakan hukum, pidana, penuntutan, integritas, dan pengawasan, Mrs. McKay memiliki rekam jejak yang sangat mengesankan. Beliau juga memiliki gelar sarjana hukum dan sarjana bisnis, serta telah resmi diakui sebagai pengacara di Mahkamah Agung. We're so lucky to have you here, Penny. And time is yours. It's maximum 10 minutes, please. Kita beri aplaus Bapak Ibu sekalian.
Okay, let's all give a round of applause. Thank you, and good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to acknowledge Pa Naji and Pa Bobby. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here with all of you. I'd like to acknowledge my fellow ORI commissioners, the esteemed panel members, SEAOF Plus officials, and all of the other attendees today. I also will probably find the 10 minutes limit quite challenging, so bear with me. It's a real pleasure to be here at this seminar dealing with the issue of how to manage and oversee conflicts of interest in public service. Today, I'll share how my office manages conflicts of interest and how conflicts of interest are managed in Australian public service. I'll also share how oversight agencies in Australia oversee the management of conflicts of interest and provide some examples of when conflicts of interest haven't been managed so well. With our office being an integrity agency within the Australian public service, it's critical that we ensure public power is exercised honestly, impartially, and in the public interest. All of our staff at the Australian Commonwealth Ombudsman are civil servants. We call them public servants. And all public servants must abide by the same legislative framework. These Commonwealth laws apply to all public service agencies, including mine. We also have a code of conduct which requires everyone in the Australian public service, including my staff, to act honestly and with integrity, with care and diligence, and to maintain confidentiality. The code is set out in legislation in the Public Service Act. In the exercise of this duty, public service employees must take reasonable steps to avoid any conflict of interest and disclose details of any material personal interest which relates to their job. And that's also set out in the Act. The Code of Conduct outlines this duty relates to both real and perceived conflicts of interest. And it's my view that it's just as important to actively manage both the perception of a conflict of interest as it is to manage real conflicts of interest. Particularly for an integrity agency, we need to set an example. We need to hold ourselves to account to protect our reputation and maintain the confidence of the community that we serve. So where there's credible evidence that a personal interest has compromised a decision made by an employee, that situation should be handled as suspected misconduct. As Ombudsman, we can investigate the management of conflicts of interest in a government agency through an own motion investigation or in response to a complaint. The Australian National Audit Office conducts audits of agencies' performance to provide assurance to the Parliament on issues including conflicts of interest management. And we also now have a National Anti-Corruption Commission. It also receives referrals of suspected corrupt conduct and can conduct investigations. These referrals may well deal with the management of conflicts of interest. And in fact, in recent reporting, it shows that nearly half of the National Anti-Corruption Commission's investigations concern conflicts of interest held by public servants and government contractors. So the public is entitled to have confidence in the integrity of their public officials and to know that an employee's personal interests don't conflict with their public duties. And for this reason, it's important that agencies such as mine and yours have effective processes in place to manage conflicts of interest within our agencies. So being an integrity agency, we need to make sure that we have the right people and structures in place to manage any conflicts of interest. We need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And this starts with our people. When we hire new staff, we conduct background checks. And in some roles in our office, we require security clearances as a requirement of their employment. And when new staff start with our office, we provide education and induction training and outline a statement of expectations. All employees complete an acknowledgement of their responsibilities under these guidelines upon commencing employment with us. We set the core values of our office from the very beginning: independence, integrity, credibility, and professionalism. It's important that we're aware of the common ways in which conflicts of interest can arise in integrity agencies such as ours, and establish internal policies and structures to manage the potential conflicts of interest. For example, we maintain a gifts and benefits register. So all gifts and benefits with a value of over 100 Australian dollars must be declared. And then for transparency, we publish that gifts and benefits register on our website so everyone can see it. We make it clear for staff the difference between their personal interests and government interests, and how this can potentially lead to issues of conflict of interest. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's not. Conflicts of interest are often not black and white, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Where one person sees a clear conflict, another person doesn't. And often the perception of a conflict of interest can be just as damaging as a real conflict of interest. What's clear to us is that it's not always easy for the person to identify where their personal interests may influence their decisions and actions. And even if they do identify a conflict, they're often not the best place to decide how that conflict should be managed. So we keep our messages simple. We keep them simple for both our staff and the staff in the agencies we oversee. 3 key things. We say declare it. If in doubt, declare your conflict of interest. Hand it over. Let someone else decide how that conflict should be managed. You're not the best person to do that. And write it down. Keep a record of both the conflict of interest, the declaration, and how it's going to be managed. Declaration of potential conflicts is critical at a senior level particularly. In a matter which is on public record now, some years ago, our Commissioner of the Australian Border Force was dismissed by government after a lengthy corruption investigation. It was found that he failed to disclose that he was in a relationship with a candidate in the recruitment process and had modified policies to give her an advantage in that process. This is a salutary lesson. The person with the conflict is just never the best person to decide how to manage it. As we say, declare it, allow others to decide how to manage it, and write it down. In my office, all senior staff must make an annual declaration to the Ombudsman of private, financial and other interests. If their circumstances change during the year, they're required to declare that change. By its very nature, the office's work requires us to develop professional and mature working relationships with officers of other agencies. It'd be incorrect to suggest that employees must not work directly with officers from other Australian government departments. In fact, some of our best work is done in influencing change. It's done behind the scenes, working directly with agencies. We also consider how to manage actual or perceived conflicts of interest when we're conducting systemic or own motion investigations. And this was most recently highlighted in a really high-profile case in Australia dubbed robo-debt. Some of you might have heard of it. It involved a scheme administered by the Social Security Department in Australia, and debts were found to be unlawfully raised against hundreds of thousands of people between 2015 and 2019. And the department actively pursued the repayment of these debts. The office, my office, before my time and before Ian's time, investigated and published 2 reports and made several recommendations about the scheme, once in 2017 and once again in 2019. Neither report commented on the legality of the scheme, which was later found to be unlawful. There was a Royal Commission that was established in 2022, and a few things became clear. One being our office was misled. We were misled by the agency that we were overseeing. We didn't use our full suite of powers that we had at our disposal to investigate the issue, and we missed a key opportunity to comment on the legality of the scheme. The final report of the Royal Commission was released in 23, and it made 57 recommendations for improvement to the public service. And the Commissioner relevantly commented that the scheme demonstrated the importance of a properly resourced and, more importantly, an independent and robust Ombudsman. In response to robo-debt, we've changed a few things. We've implemented several changes to the way we undertake investigations. We revised our investigations policy, making it clear to investigators on how to research, scope and plan an investigation, as well as guidance on when to escalate and when to use your formal powers. Investigators must maintain a log of all of their communications with the agency that they're investigating, including my communications with the agency or the Ombudsman's. And when we provide our copies of our reports to agencies for procedural fairness, we do so in a format that they can't change, they can't edit it. So it reminded us, robo-debt reminded us of the importance of being robust and independent and prepared to use our powers and to take a stand when necessary. And we think now Australian government agency heads, now more than ever, accept and expect the Ombudsman to ask questions, to examine potential systemic issues and to make recommendations for change. And we find the government is more generally open to putting things right when things go wrong. So managing conflicts of interest both within our offices and across the public service is not only important, it's critical to ensuring public service is conducted in the public's best interests. Thank you for your time.
Kita beri aplaus sekali lagi Bapak Ibu.
Let's give everyone
Thank you
a
Penny
round
for
of
the
applause.
presentation. So, Bapak Ibu sekalian, hal yang menarik yang saya catat dari apa yang dipaparkan oleh Ibu Penny adalah bahwa ternyata konflik of interest itu tidak hanya dilihat dari situasi yang nyata, tetapi juga dalam bentuk persepsi. Ini menarik sekali. Mungkin kita akan diskusikan lebih lanjut, meskipun waktunya sangat mepet. Saya diberitahu oleh panitia 10 menit Mas gitu. Jadi mohon maaf Bapak Ibu sekalian, waktu untuk bertanya perlu saya batasi hanya satu penanya saja. Jadi iya karena dari sananya hanya 10 menit Pak. Jadi dua, baik. Atas permintaan speakers, jadi kami memberikan kesempatan untuk 2 orang penanya Bapak Ibu sekalian. Kami persilahkan jika ada Bapak Ibu yang ingin bertanya, tidak harus dalam bahasa Inggris, nanti akan diterjemahkan oleh penerjemah yang ada di belakang dan bisa didengar melalui alat penerjemah. Mari kami persilahkan jika ada yang ingin bertanya, silahkan mengangkat tangan, nanti menyampaikan, menyebutkan nama dari instansi mana, gitu, dan pertanyaan diajukan kepada siapa. Dari belakang, ya silahkan. Satu lagi mungkin sebelum saya persilahkan untuk menyampaikan pertanyaannya. Dari sisi sebelah kiri saya, ada Bapak Ibu? Baik, dua-duanya wanita, ini saya sangat senang. Jadi silahkan yang pertama dari belakang Ibu Siska Widiawati dari Ombudsman. Silahkan berdiri mungkin, terima kasih.
Thank you, moderator, for recognizing me. Yes, I am Siska. I work at the Ombudsman of the Republic of Indonesia. I'd like to ask a question to the Thai Ombudsman. I think I've heard of good things, getting efforts to protect humanity, protect human rights. I'm also reminded of the Venice Principles. And this is about value dilemmas that you talked about also, related to how human rights needs to be respected, protected, and promoted. My question is, how do you ask the government and state to protect, respect, and promote you in your work? Maybe that has to do with value dilemmas, where the ombudsman is requesting or recommending the government to make changes for improvement, but it's you also ask them for like budget, resources, funding. So how you manage that relationship? On the one hand, you can tell the government to or ask them for support, as is mentioned in the Venice Principle.
Baik, terima kasih. Penanya kedua, kami persilahkan. Mic-nya tolong di. Oh sudah, baik.
Halo, sebelumnya selamat siang. Perkenalkan, saya dari KPK. Sebelumnya dari tadi speaker sudah menyebutkan kalau bahwa
Mohon sebentar namanya Mbak.
Maaf, namanya Yorina.
Yorina
dari KPK. Sebelumnya tadi seluruh speaker menyebutkan bahwa pengendalian konflik of interest dimulai dari internal. Menurut kami mungkin itu lebih mudah penanganannya jika penanganan konflik of interest dilakukan kepada staff ataupun middle management dan juga institusi lembaga lain. Namun bagaimana pengendalian konflik of interest jika itu dilakukan oleh pimpinan lembaga kami sebagai pengendali konflik of interest? Saya pengen tahu perspektifnya dari perspektif global, yaitu dari Thailand dan juga dari Commonwealth. Sekian, terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Yorina dari Komisi Pemberantasan Korupsi. Jadi pertanyaan pertama tadi diajukan kepada Mr. Somsak. Kami persilahkan.
Something which is very fortunate for the Thai Ombudsman is that the job that we have in line with the constitutional mandate is the key role of resolving issues of injustice which are being faced by the public and which is being caused by the work of public officials. So that has no correlation to political issues. So the key job of the Thai Ombudsman is we are people that help and we provide recommendations to public agencies or to civil servants or public officials which are not doing things in line with regulations, or they're carrying out maladministration, which is disadvantaging the public. And then in terms of listening to all of the input of what the Ombudsman is doing and what the Ombudsman is recommending to the government, to the ministers, we will always get a response. There will be those direct instructions to that particular department or to that relevant agency so that the recommendations of the Ombudsman be carried out. In terms of budget, in terms of the limited government budget, to maintain various different dimensions of the work there. So for budget submissions for the Ombudsman, for our budget allocations, we're not lacking. We're not. It's not excessive, but we do have some limitations. But with all of our different activities to actually do capacity building and to build the effectiveness of our work, first of all, okay, well, human resource limitation, we've actually got a positive response about that. However, it does depend on our performance. So when we can actually performance in helping the public over the last 5 years, in the public assessment of 5 independent institutions, the public trust and confidence in the Thai Ombudsman has come number 1 every year over the last 5 years. So that public confidence in those 5 independent state institutions, the Ombudsman was the top one. And so that we have no issues with the government, even though the support that is provided is not as great as what we would hope for, but we understand that, yeah, there's limitations of the government.
Baik, terima kasih, Dr. Somsak. Terkait dengan pertanyaan kedua,
Okay,
saya
thank you,
persilahkan
Somsak. And now for
Penny
question number 2, I
to
would like to
answer
hand over to
the
Penny to
question
answer the
first.
question
After
first.
that, if Pak Johannes want to add, and also Mr. Somsak, saya persilahkan.
And then Mr. Somsak can answer afterwards. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you for the question. I think the same principles apply. So I have 7 executives in the Commonwealth Ombudsman's office who all declare their conflicts of interest to me and the Ombudsman. I declare my conflicts of interest to the Ombudsman, he declares his to me. It's about making them transparent, giving them to somebody else so somebody else is aware of your conflicts of interest or potential conflicts of interest, and allowing them to be involved in deciding the management of those conflicts of interest. The Ombudsman of Australia is also required to declare his conflicts of interest to the Attorney General. So we like to give them air. Same principles that I said before apply. Declare it, tell somebody else, and write them down. So I think it doesn't necessarily matter for us which level you are at in an organisation, same principles apply.
Maybe you can also explain about what is the mechanism if the Ombudsman is doing the conflict of interest.
So, as I said, the Ombudsman himself needs to declare his conflicts of interest to the Attorney General of Australia, and he also tells me. So, for example, if the Ombudsman's wife works in an agency, I can then tell him, well, I don't think you should be involved in the decisions with that agency. I'll make the decisions for that matter. So down to a practical level, we put in mechanisms to ensure that even if there is only a perception of a conflict of interest, they're managed.
Thank you, Ben, so much. Johannes, ada yang ingin ditambahkan?
Thank you, Penny, so much. And Mr. Johannes, would you like to add to that? Nina, was it? Okay. So indeed, one of the issues, if we are talking about conflict of interest at the leadership level or at the highest levels, I believe that I think that we have to say that culturally and structurally speaking, that we have a very serious issue in this matter in Indonesia, because we do not yet have, as we said earlier, there's a gap between the regulations and enforcement. And so the issue lies with our goodwill to actually enforce those regulations. And so say if we have guidelines regarding even a conflict of interest, even if we have those guidelines, but if it is not sincerely and actually enforced and applied, then I think, well, once again, that, we are very rich in regulations over here, but it's really about that enforcement. So really what I'm trying to say here is that is part of our responsibility, the responsibility of a leader to become a role model so if we learn from Australia, for example, about also how, they have that will to actually declare and to actually disclose any potential conflicts of interest to all parties. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Pak Johannes.
Thank you,
Do you
Mr.
want to add
Johannes.
or comment, Mr. Somsak, about the question?
จะขออนุญาตเสริมในประเด็นของ
Yes, I would like to add to that.
ประเด็นดึง
So regarding conflict of interest, so we look at ourselves and we see how we're doing our job as the Ombudsman in resolving public issues
ประเด็นคอนฟลิกต์
or resolving issues for the members of the public that have experienced injustice. Conflict of interest is very important from two dimensions. The first dimension is in terms of institutions, institutionally speaking. So the ombudsman or officials that are responsible for public complaints, we cannot have a conflict of interest in that particular issue, in that area. Now, from an external point of view, when you
ให้ข้อมูลประกอบ
when we're doing fact finding or when people we send out to do the data finding, and we actually need to do and we need to check there that there is no conflict of interest there, whether it be for the complainant or for the agency. And another thing that we should actually do, and this will actually bring down the possibility of conflict occurring or not in terms of public complaints, we need to really reiterate that and reinforce that we actually have to involve and engage the community
เรื่องร้องเรียน
and the society to understand these issues and to understand the complaint there. So particularly if we're looking at issues that are public issues, so we need to hear an extensive broader view, so not just from the person involved there, but we need to go to the public and the community. They can actually provide that input and that data, those facts, and they can actually really following the steps of all of what we're doing, all the different steps that we're doing in a very transparent manner. And so the topic of conflict of interest here, this is actually a topic for ombudsman institutions, for us to really, it's something that we have to pay attention to so that we can actually improve our complaint services.
Luar biasa.
Let's give a round of
Paling
applause for
tidak
our
sebetulnya
amazing
ada
speakers here. So at the
satu
very
saja
least, there's
kesimpulan
just
yang bisa
one
kita
conclusion
dapat
that we
dari
can
sesi
really
ini
draw
adalah
from this
3 hal
session.
penting yang
So there's three
harus ada
important
ketika kita
things that
bicara
we need to
tentang
have
conflict
if
of
we're
interest.
talking about conflict of
Pertama
interest.
adalah
First of
SDM
all,
yang
you need to
tepat.
have, the right
Kemudian
people.
regulasi regulasi yang jelas dan juga law enforcement yang kuat. Di sisi lain bagaimana kemudian kita juga mempertimbangkan betul masukan-masukan dari masyarakat sebagai salah satu mekanisme kontrol yang ada. Sekali lagi terima kasih untuk tiga pembicara kita yang luar biasa. Demikian Bapak Ibu sekalian, saya mohon maaf jika ada kekurangan di dalam saya memoderasi sesi ini. Saya kembalikan ke MC. Demikian terima kasih sekali lagi. Saya tutup sesi ini. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Santi Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you Mr. Indarto and of the speaker for the insightful session. Bapak Ibu hadirin yang berbahagia, saat ini kita memasuki sesi istirahat atau coffee break session. Please enjoy the refreshment outside this meeting room for 10 minutes. Thank you. Selamat untuk menikmati hidangan yang telah tersaji selama 10 menit ke depan. Bapak Ibu hadirin yang berbahagia, kopi dan juga kudapan dapat dinikmati di dalam ruangan ini. Sekali lagi kami persilakan untuk menikmati sesi coffee break ini di dalam ruangan ini. Silakan. Terima kasih.
Greetings,
Good
greetings
morning,
of virtue.
ladies and gentlemen. Pertama-tama, izinkan kami
First of
menyapa
all,
Bapak Ketua
allow
Ombudsman
me
Republik
to
Indonesia, Bapak Wakil Ketua Ombudsman
recognize
Republik
the
Indonesia,
head of the
Bapak
Indonesian Ombudsman, the
Pimpinan
deputy
Ombudsman
head of the
Republik
Indonesian
Indonesia, di
Ombudsman,
belakang ada
the
Pak
members
YK
of the Indonesian
Hendra,
Ombudsman.
kemudian
I see
Bapak
that
Sekjen
Mr.
Ombudsman
Yeka
Republik
Hendra
Indonesia,
is already
dan
here,
juga tamu
Mr.
kehormatan
Secretary
kita
General of
dari
the Ombudsman,
Ombudsman
also
di
distinguished
Southeast Asia,
guests
Ombudsman
from
Forum, ada Ombudsman
the
Taiwan,
Southeast
Ombudsman
Asia
Filipina,
Ombudsman
Ombudsman
Forum,
Timor
the
Leste,
Philippines, Thailand,
Ombudsman
Timor
New Zealand, dan
Leste,
Commonwealth Ombudsman
New
Australia.
Zealand, and the Commonwealth
Dan juga
Ombudsman
kami
Australia.
sampaikan selamat datang juga
I
kepada
also would like
Bapak Ibu
to
Sekretaris,
welcome
Sekretaris Jenderal dari KL yang hadir,
the
ada dari
Secretary
Transpodi juga,
General
dan
of the
jajaran rektor dari berbagai universitas,
and
di mana Bapak Ibu yang terundang ke
rectors
sini
from
adalah
universities.
Bapak Ibu yang
We
memiliki
have invited many people who are
kerjasama ya, MOU dengan
have
Ombudsman
a
Republik Indonesia. Nah, kami berharap volume ini
MOU
bisa
and
memperkuat
an
hubungan
existing
kerjasama
collaboration
yang
with
lembaga
us and
yang telah kita
strengthen
jalani
the collaboration
selama
that we
ini.
have.
Kemudian kepada para jajaran hadirin dari
Also,
internal
the
Ombudsman, ada
audience, we have the
Kepala
audience,
Kasar
we
Utama
have
Ombudsman, ada Bapak
from
Ibu
the Ombudsman, the heads of section,
JPTP Ombudsman dan insan Ombudsman, serta Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian, tamu undangan yang mohon izin, mohon maaf tidak bisa kami sebutkan satu persatu.
addressing you individually.
Baik, sebelumnya perkenalkan, saya Dian Suryaningrum,
Dia Suryaningrum,
bergabung dengan Ombudsman Republik Indonesia sejak 15 tahun yang lalu,
15 years ago,
tepatnya sejak Juli 2009 hingga saat ini. Dan saat ini saya berperan sebagai Kepala Keasistenan Utama 7 di Ombudsman RI, yang salah satu isunya terkait dengan isu pendidikan, keagamaan, disabilitas, perempuan dan anak, gender, kepemudaan, dan olahraga.
gender,
Nah,
youth,
itu sekedar
sports.
pengantar singkat dari kami.
My
Nantinya
introduction.
saya akan izin memandu diskusi kita
But next
pada
round,
pagi menjelang siang hari ini selama 90 menit ke depan,
late afternoon,
dengan
90
topik yang
minutes.
tidak kalah menarik dengan yang sebelumnya,
Taking also
public
an important
outreach,
theme,
building
which
trust
is
and accessibility
public
with
outreach,
public.
building trust and accessibility
Tentunya saya tidak akan
with the public.
sendirian berdiri di
I,
sini.
of course, will not be on a
Setidaknya dari
stage by
tadi
myself.
malam sudah ada Tono dan Tini, si ondel-ondel
Tono and
yang
Tini
sudah
have been
berdiri
ondel-ondel.
dari tadi malam. Semoga mereka masih kuat bertahan sampai nanti jam makan siang.
And they're still going to be here as well until lunch.
Bapak Ibu, di topik kita pada siang hari ini,
Mungkin sebagaimana kita ketahui bersama ya bahwa ombudsman itu lembaga ombudsman itu sudah ada di sekitar 200 negara.
Have now been
Ada 200-an negara yang memiliki ombudsman dan juga dengan tugas dan fungsi yang mirip-mirip, tapi secara umum itulah tugas ombudsman. Kalau ombudsman RI itu sebagai pengawas pelayanan publik, nah tapi di ombudsman dan terutama yang hadir di sini juga berkaitan erat dengan isu anti korupsi dan juga isu hak asasi manusia. Nah, dengan berbagai kewenangan tersebut, bagaimana sih sebetulnya strategi outreach ya atau penjangkauan kepada masyarakat? Apa-apa saja praktik baik yang telah dilakukan oleh berbagai ombudsman yang hadir ya pada hari ini? Maka langsung saja mohon izin kami mengundang para narasumber kita. Ada 5 orang speaker yang sudah hadir. Yang pertama kami izin mengundang yang terhormat Bapak Mr. Jose Balmeo Junior, Deputy Ombudsman dari Ombudsman of the Republic of Philippines. Silahkan, Mr. Yes, please. If you don't mind. Thank you. Selanjutnya kami mengundang Mr. Peter Boshier from Chief Ombudsman of the New Zealand. Yes. Selanjutnya kita mengundang Bapak Ambrosio Graciano, Executive Secretary Ombudsman for Human Rights and Justice of Timor Leste, untuk juga naik ke panggung. Silakan. Oh, ada tangganya ya dari situ. Siap. Kemudian Mr. Songsak Saichewa dari Ombudsman, Ketua Ombudsman dari Ombudsman of the Kingdom of Thailand untuk naik ke atas panggung. Kami persilahkan. Dan yang terakhir, narasumber terakhir, gongnya ini Bapak salah satu pimpinan Ombudsman Republik Indonesia, yaitu Bapak YK Hendra Fatika. Kami persilahkan. Bapak Ibu sekalian, narasumber kita telah hadir duduk di depan kita semua. Tentunya dengan segala keahlian dan keilmuan yang para narasumber kita miliki, ya khususnya untuk topik public outreach, ya bagaimana menjangkau dan membangun kepercayaan publik gitu ya terhadap lembaga ombudsman pada saat kita menjalankan tugasnya masing-masing. Kami berharap dalam volume ini nanti para narasumber bisa membagi pengalamannya, kemudian juga yang tak kalah penting adalah tentang bagaimana kita bisa menjangkau juga para masyarakat ya, kalau di dalam TOR tertulis underrepresented gitu. Representative, jadi yang ini mungkin kurang terdengar atau bisa kita bilang sebagai kelompok marginal. Nah, bagaimana nanti praktik baiknya untuk yang selama ini telah dilaksanakan. Dan ya mungkin karena waktunya terbatas nih, mohon izin Bapak Ibu para narasumber, lagi-lagi kami akan memberikan waktu maksimal 10 menit. Nanti di belakang ada rekan-rekan panitia ya yang akan standby ya, menginformasikan berapa menit lagi gitu ya untuk sisa waktu. Bapak Ibu paparan kiranya bisa sama-sama kita pedomani, karena ada titipan panitia juga bahwa sekitar jam 12 nanti ruangan ini harus kita remake gitu ya untuk event yang juga tidak kalah besar dengan event kita pada siang hari ini. Baik, mungkin selanjutnya tanpa berpanjang-panjang kalimat lagi, kami akan mengundang narasumber pertama untuk nanti bisa menyampaikan materinya. Adalah dari Ombudsman Filipina, Mr. Jose Balmeo Jr. Hope I read that right ya, Mr. Beliau adalah Deputi Ombudsman untuk isu militer dan penegakan hukum di kantor Ombudsman Filipina. Beliau pernah menjadi Public Defender di Departemen Kehakiman Filipina dan juga pernah menjadi Jaksa Penuntut Umum di Pengadilan Khusus Anti Korupsi atau yang dikenal dengan Sandigan Bayan. Sebelum akhirnya bergabung menjadi asisten ombudsman yang kemudian saat ini menjadi deputi ombudsman. So kepada Mr. Jose, waktu dan tempat disilakan.
Your Excellencies, Your Honors, fellow delegates of this forum, as they say in our language, magandang umaga po, that's good morning to everybody. The Office of the Ombudsman of the Philippines may have been perceived to do complaint handling, investigation and prosecution as its primary functions. Public outreach is not secondary in consideration. In fact, elements of public outreach run across our major program offerings. Among the many public outreach principles, our office subscribes to the principle of accessibility, empowerment, engagement, and responsiveness. Our mandate emanates from the public, and it is our duty to reach out to them. Allow us to share some experience, the Philippine experience, on the issue of accessibility, empowerment, engagement, and responsiveness. First is on the issue or on the topic of service accessibility. The Office of the Ombudsman acts on all complaints filed in any form or manner against officers and employees of the government, including private persons who are in connivance with officers or employees of the government. The operative word is a complaint in any form. On merits, even anonymous complaints are accepted by our office. It may be a very tall order considering the possible influx this may create and the staff work to entertain a complaint that is not yet in its finest order. But the call of answerability to a mandated function necessitates creation of a myriad of access points to our service. Spaces to hear the merits of their cases should be available. As for physical accessibility, aside from our central office in Manila, located in the National Capital Region, the Office of the Ombudsman is also present in the 3 major islands of the Philippines, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. A relatively smaller regional office is also situated in these major islands. We have 1 regional office in Mindanao, a regional office in Luzon, which we have recently reopened. We have, in the Visayas region, we have 2 regional offices, mainly since regions under its territorial jurisdiction are separated land masses requiring travel by sea or air. And this year, the office opened 3 Ombudsman Action Centers, or OACs, intended to cater to walk-in clients for the filing of complaints and asset declarations, including the processing of Ombudsman clearances. 4 other action centers are poised to be opened by the Office of the Ombudsman, and this is all in a bid to bring its frontline services closer to the public and to provide responsive and streamlined frontline services. On the issue of empowerment, the Office of the Ombudsman understands that while services are accessible, it can only be maximized when the public is aware of the services we offer, and if the people understand the reason why they should come to our office. In this sense, the Office of the Ombudsman is implementing the Aral, which is a Filipino language, which means lesson, and Asal, in the Filipino language, is behavior, which is a project with the Commission of Higher Education and the University of the Philippines. This project has produced 26 dramatized episodes on anti-corruption cases, 100 video lectures on ethics, a mini-series of Philippine family values, and instructional videos for teachers and course material for students. These dramatized episodes are based on digest of cases prepared by the Office of the Ombudsman in an attempt to laymanize and better communicate the typologies of corruption that may help the citizens, even the youth, in flagging its occurrence. These videos are currently being aired via Signal TV channel every Wednesday morning, with replays at the night time. This project is planned to have an initial assessment of the awareness reigning impact of the first run, and eventually design an advocacy plan to reach out more viewers and develop tools to monitor impact. Still on the issue of awareness, the office is also implementing the Integrity, Transparency, and Accountability in Public Service, or the acronym of ITAPS. It is a 3-day seminar workshop which discusses the topic of corruption, the nature of public office, the 8 norms of conduct of public officials and employees, the functions of the Office of the Ombudsman, as well as the common violations of public servants. This helps remind our civil servants to understand the perils of engaging in corrupt activities, with the ultimate hope of reducing the possible complaint against them. From January to November 2024 alone, a total of 5,123 stakeholders have been capacitated using ITAPS. This is a huge jump from the 1,897 stakeholders capacitated in the year 2023. For educating our youth, school-based and campus-based organizations are being accredited as Campus Integrity Crusaders, or CIC, every school year, to lead the conduct of activities on promoting integrity, social responsibility, including gender and development. The Training on Leadership is a program for accredited CIC student leaders, which aims to teach them that one of the solutions in fighting corruption is to have leaders with integrity. As a development, we would like to note that our training arm, the National Integrity Center of the Office of the Ombudsman, has converted these face-to-face modules to online platforms. With support from partners, a learning management system is being developed to transpose the online modules into a dedicated system that would house all the materials and learning platforms that have been produced. A prototype is already being developed and subjected to the series of users' validation. On the issue of engagement, this builds on empowerment. The capacity built for people need to be used and translated into action. Without monopoly of anti-corruption knowledge, the office needs its empowered citizenry to deliver integrity work. On this aspect, our office also developed the Honesty, Integrity, and Public Accountability Awards, or the HIP Awards, designed to recognize ordinary citizens who exhibit exemplary acts of same values. The office has organized 2 runs, one last December 2023 and another one last May 2024. On both occasions, we have witnessed acts of integrity from airport workers, police officers, office cleaners who returned large sums of money they have found without owners, from community leaders who have done volunteer work through the years to a number of important local causes, as may be attested by other leaders and prominent members of the community, and from young students doing community service and voluntary charity activities affecting positive change. Fourth is on the issue or on the topic of responsiveness. Effective public outreach helps build trust between the organization and the public. By actively engaging with the public and being responsive to public concerns, our office is able to demonstrate its commitment to accountability and transparency. A case in point, the Office of the Ombudsman issues ombudsman clearance to assist government authorities in determining qualifications and/or fitness of a person for 1, appointment to government office, promotion in the government service, entitlement of benefits for the government, and participating in the bidding of government projects or other transactions. In conclusion, the Office of the Ombudsman has made significant strides in enhancing its accessibility, empowering citizens, fostering engagement, and becoming a responsive public institution. By establishing multiple access points, implementing awareness-raising campaigns, and leveraging technology, the office has significantly improved its service delivery. The eCPS system, or the electronic clearance system in particular, has revolutionized the clearance process, making it more efficient and transparent. However, challenges remain, such as balancing transparency with confidentiality and addressing the evolving needs of the public. By continuously adapting to these challenges and embracing innovative solutions, the Office of the Ombudsman of the Republic of the Philippines can further strengthen its position as a trusted and effective public institution. Thank you very much and good morning.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Bapak Jose Balmeo yang sudah berbagi dengan kami. Tadi kami singkat saja, jadi bahkan di Ombudsman Australia laporan yang anonim pun juga ditindaklanjuti gitu ya. Berbeda kalau Ombudsman RI, kalau anonim itu tidak ditindaklanjuti. Nah kemudian Ombudsman Filipina juga tersebar gitu ya kantornya di berbagai penjuru sehingga memudahkan penjangkauan masyarakat untuk menyampaikan laporan. Dan kemudian punya perhatian khusus juga terhadap masyarakat muda gitu ya, untuk memudahkan. Jadi ada tayangan TV secara reguler yang bisa dilihat, kemudian ada training centernya juga kalau mau ikut pelatihan di Ombudsman, dan juga yang paling paling unik gitu ya buat kami ada anugerah kejujuran dan integritas. Nah ini juga lagi-lagi praktik baik gitu ya, ini kepada orang umum atau masyarakat biasa. Nah baik, ini praktik yang sangat baik sekali Pak Jose Balmeo. Sekali lagi aplaus buat Bapak Jose Balmeo. Selanjutnya, terima kasih. Kami akan mengundang Bapak Mr. Peter Boshier, Ketua Ombudsman dari Ombudsman New Zealand, di mana beliau pertama kali diangkat pada bulan Desember 2015, dan kemudian pada bulan Mei 2020 kembali diangkat sebagai Ketua Ombudsman New Zealand untuk periode kedua. Nah sebelumnya beliau juga memiliki karir yang cemerlang sebagai seorang hakim pada Principal Family Court of New Zealand, dan saat ini beliau juga menjabat sebagai Second Vice President of the International Ombudsman Institute IOI, dan juga menjabat sebagai Director of the Australasian and Pacific Ombudsman Region atau APOR. Maka kepada Pak Peter Boshier kami persilahkan memberikan aplaus kepada beliau.
Selamat pagi. Sawadee-kap. Ombudsman Bobby, can you help me greet everyone in New Zealand Māori? 1, 2, 3, kia ora. Thank you very much. Look, it's a pleasure to be able to be back here in Indonesia, and I just want to tell you a bit about how the Ombudsman tries to get better known amongst the community. How do you reach out? And how does the Ombudsman engage with others? Because the word Ombudsman is difficult to say, and people don't often understand what it really is. So in my 9 minutes, I want to tell you a bit about what I'd like to do over engaging. So the next slide. First of all, I felt that with the New Zealand Māori constitutes 1/5 of our population. New Zealand is a tiny country compared to Indonesia. That's small compared to you. We have 5 million people, 1 million of whom are Indigenous Māori. So to better understand what Indigenous Māori think and want, I set up a panel, and that's the one that you can see on the right-hand side. It also seemed to me, and this is something that Ombudsman Johannes of Indonesia has been strong about, there must be inclusion of the disabled community, those that have a disability, not just physical, but a learning difficulty, a difficulty in accessing information. So I decided to set up a group, and you'll see them there, and one way or another, all of them have a disability. Then with the next slide, I felt that we also needed to start engaging with the important Pacific and Asian communities. So what you see there is the commencement of us beginning to run programs, particularly in Auckland, which is our biggest city, and they have been in the form of seminars and question and answers as to what the Ombudsman does and how the Ombudsman can help. And that's really important for people such as Filipino, Indonesians, Malaysians, and Thais who may be in New Zealand and have a difficulty with the decision that's being made about them. It could be an immigration visa, it could be about bad living conditions. So getting out into the community has been really important. Now the next slide is just something I want to tell you about. We decided that we would begin to reach into schools and talk to school students. So we launched a new resource called Keeping Things Fair. Keeping Things Fair, which really means for those at school, how do you ensure you get fairness? So we did this big presentation, and here's just a short video showing you what happened when we did the presentation. today is a special, special day. And in a minute or two, you'll have the chance to ask me some questions.
Can anyone go to the Ombudsman? You could give one piece of advice.
On the subject of social media, how has that impacted the way you make reports?
Do you think artificial intelligence will change how complaints are handled in the future?
What's the weirdest complaint you've ever had to deal with?
Is your role impacted by who gets elected in the elections?
What a great question. That is possibly the question of the day, and the answer is no. So as I move to my last slide, and I promised I would keep within 10 minutes, and I'm going to make room for others, I just think an ombudsman's got two responsibilities. One is to do the complaints that come to us and to make sure we do them quickly and properly, but we've got to get out into the community. Very, very difficult. Indonesia, a huge country, geographically so much to cover. But with us, and same with Australia, Penny, it's an enormous country. But with us, there's no excuse for that. And so we have begun moving around, engaging with groups. The end result is that the use of the Ombudsman in New Zealand is increasing each year. And that means that so is the government's support for the Ombudsman. So that's my contribution to you on engagement, getting out, making our word real to people who then want to use us because they see us as caring. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Peter Boscher. That's very interesting. Baik, kalau tadi dari paparan Pak Peter gitu ya, kami bisa tangkap beberapa hal menarik gitu ya, seperti ada pembentukan advisory panel gitu ya, itu untuk memperluas penjangkauan baik kepada masyarakat lokal gitu ya, masyarakat asli, suku asli yang ada di New Zealand dan juga masyarakat disabilitas. Tadi juga kita sama-sama menyaksikan ada sosialisasi yang beliau lakukan sendiri di sekolah gitu ya, penjangkauannya sampai ke masyarakat muda, sampai datang ke sekolah-sekolah. Dan juga tadi pesan yang terakhir adalah untuk membangun kepercayaan, untuk building trust. Kita yang harus masuk ke masyarakat, kita yang harus datangi masyarakat gitu ya. Cuman PR-nya memang betul Pak Peter, Indonesia ini agak luas sekali gitu ya, kami punya banyak sekali pulau. Nah mungkin nanti Pak Yaka bisa cerita program-programnya seperti apa. Baik, sekali lagi aplaus kepada Pak Peter Boscher. Selanjutnya kami ingin mengundang narasumber kita yang ketiga. Beliau dari Ombudsman for Human Rights and Justice of Timor-Leste, Bapak Ambrosio Graciano Suarez sebagai Eksekutif Sekretari, di mana beliau lahir di Dili 7 Desember 1974 dan menamatkan studi Master of Arts di Global Study on International Relations Department at Sophia University, Tokyo, Jepang pada tahun 2016. Dan yang menarik, fun fact-nya adalah beliau juga pernah mengikuti pendidikan di STPDN di Indonesia pada tahun 95 sampai 99 dan bergabung dengan Ombudsman Timor-Leste sejak tahun 2006 hingga sekarang. Nah, kepada Pak Peter Ambrosio Graciano dipersilahkan.
Baik, terima kasih. Bon dia.
Bon dia.
It means good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I will try to manage my 10 minutes as effective as possible on behalf of the Provedoria dos Direitos Humanos e Justiça Ombudsman for Human Rights and Justice. We are very sorry, the Chief Ombudsman not here because of the health conditions, and also Deputy for Human Rights and Good Governance also. Deputy for Good Governance, now he have another commitment in Lao PDR. That is why I, Ambrose, on behalf of the PDHJ, of the Ombudsman for Human Rights and Justice, would like to share the PDHJ mandate relating to the topic public outreach, how the Ombudsman reaches out to the public and build public trust. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you to Almighty God for His grace and blessing to all of us here. And we can sharing to each other how the Ombudsman role to improving good governance in our respective country. In PDAJ context, our mandate is based on our Constitution, Article 27. Next slide, please. And Article 150 and 151, we have a great mandate to protect human rights and promote good governance. It's our dual mandate or hybrid mandate in Timor-Leste. Before that, in 2004, based on our bylaw, we have also mandate to combating corruption. We have 3 mandates before, in 2004 until 2009. And in 2009, when the Anti-Corruption Commission established in Timor-Leste, so we now have only 2 mandates, how to promoting good governance and protection human rights. We also follow the international guidelines like Paris principles and Venice principle, and also the international treaties that we are ratifying in Timor-Leste. Until today, we have 8 treaties, international treaties. It's focused on how to protecting and promoting human rights in Timor-Leste. Based on that, next slide, please. PDAJ mission and vision, as I mentioned that Timor-Leste Ombudsman Office, we have dual mandate, how to human rights are respected and public service are fair and effective. With our mission, how to promote through education services and how to protect through investigation, receive compliance investigation and mediation, and also how to ensure to public authorities to respect the principle of good governance and human rights in their daily activities. PDAJ power and function, based on our legal basis, we are receive compliance. Until today, we have 4,890 complaints that we receive, not only directly, but also like some ombudsman have. We also anonymous cases that we receive from public, and also initiative of the ombudsman itself to make an investigation and monitoring to the cases about human rights violations and good governance violations. We also, in promotion services, we already teach our government officials in the senior level through the training and workshop to promoting good governance. And also, we have a memorandum of agreement with our National Police of Timor-Leste and National Defense Force of Timor-Leste to conducting the training activities to our Defense Force police and our police officer and defense force in Timor-Leste to respect the human rights in their daily activities. And also we train the prison guard. We have in Timor-Leste, we have three prisons, one in Central, in Capital, one in West, and one in East. So we train the prison guard to respect the human rights, including the prisoners in 3 prisons in Timor-Leste. Also, we train the community leaders. Community leaders, like in Indonesia, you have a Kepala Desa, Lurah. So we, PDAJ or Ombudsman of Timor-Leste, we celebrate the memorandum of agreement with Minister of Internal Affairs to train the community leaders how they are use their power in the area to respect human rights and protect human rights in their village. And also in terms of promotion service, we, PDAJ or Ombudsman of Timor-Leste also implemented the campaign activities and dissemination or socialization to community, including marginalized people, people with disabilities, LGBTIQ+. So almost more than 25,000 community we already make a campaign and information campaign to 25,000 people in Timor-Leste. Structurally, Timor-Leste Ombudsman Office, we have one chief ombudsman and also 2 deputies, one focused on good governance and the other one focused on human rights, how to protecting human rights. So we have 2 deputies and executive secretary, inspector general, head of cabinet, directors, and 4 branches office, one in central, one in west, one in east, and the other one in enclave, the border to NTT. So right now we have a 4 branches office. We have a plan to the future. We have 13 municipalities we will cover in the next 5 years. In terms of PDAJ public outreach, how PDAJ reach out to the public, as I mentioned before, that we, based on our strategy plan, we have four important activities. The first one, promotion service, as I mentioned before, and the second one, how to to strengthen public trust through the prevention services, to monitoring activities to public entities, online ministers, that sometimes they conduct maladministration, malpractice, or human rights violation in their daily activities. And also how to strengthening public trust through protection services. Like I mentioned that we receive compliance from community and investigation. Also some cases we make mediation and conciliation between the public authorities and the community. When they have a dispute between them, we can facilitate the mediation and conciliation. And until today, we already resolved 99 cases about mediation between public authorities and the communities. In terms of strengthening public trust, we also have a public policy supervision services. As I mentioned before, that based on our constitution, Article 150 and 151, the ombudsman or the providor also have competence, including the Attorney General, the President of the Republic, to make opinion to High Commission about the violations that have in our sometimes laws that product by government or parliament, some laws that not reflect to our constitutions. That is why ombudsman have also competence to send the opinion to our High Court. In our outreach activities, today we have a lot of engagement through the Facebook website and YouTube to publish the activities of PDHA to build the public trust about the PDHA mandate. In terms of cooperation, nationally, we have good cooperation with international, national institutions that focus how to promote good governance, including Commission of Anti-Corruption, Inspector General of State, Civil Service Commission. We call quadrilateral cooperation to teach all civil servants or public service in our country about good governance. Also, we have engagement with our other partners, including SEAOF. The big challenge that we face it in Timor-Leste today, first, we are a limited resource budget everywhere. Every year we receive the budget from government, not enough to cover all territory. Even though PDHA is an independent institution, but in terms of budget, it's depend on the government. And the other one, political barriers. Sometimes we face the problem by lack of strong political by our politicians in Timor-Leste. And also geographically, until today, we only have 4 branches office to cover all territory. So it is also became as our challenges that we can solve it in the future. The opportunities, digital platform leveraging the power of social media and online communication to reach younger generation and increase engagement. And the second one, collaboration expanding partnership with local and international organizations to maximize the impact of outreach activities. In conclusion, PDHA commitment to public outreach to ensure that citizens are informed, their human rights are protected, and that good governance is promoted by focusing on education, media engagement, and transparency. So PDHA is actively building public trust in Timor-Leste institution. Thank you.
Terima kasih Bapak Ambrosio Graciano. Baik, dari Timor-Leste tadi kami mencatat ya bahwa menarik sekali bahwa ombudsmannya itu masuk ke dalam konstitusi, masuk ke dalam undang-undang dasarnya Timor-Leste gitu ya. Jadi amanat yang memang sudah melekat kuat begitu ya untuk Ombudsman Timor-Leste dan fokusnya kepada good governance dan juga isu-isu tentang hak asasi manusia. Banyak pelatihan tadi yang sudah dilaksanakan gitu ya, termasuk ada pelatihan kepada para sipir gitu ya, petugas-petugas di lembaga pemasyarakatan, dan sampai saat ini tercatat sudah ribuan partisipan, ribuan peserta yang sudah mengikuti pelatihannya. Dan juga kampanye-kampanye kepada masyarakat juga kerap dilakukan oleh Ombudsman Timor-Leste, khususnya terhadap kelompok marginal ya, tadi contohnya beberapa disebutkan, dan juga untuk memudahkan penjangkauan kepada masyarakat muda juga melakukan sosialisasi menggunakan sosial media. Tadi ada grafik Facebooknya dan juga berbagai media massa. Sekali lagi aplaus untuk Bapak Ambrosio Graciano Suarez. Terima kasih banyak. Selanjutnya pemateri kita keempat adalah Ketua Ombudsman Thailand, Bapak Mr. Songsak Seichewa. Beliau menamatkan pendidikan Master of Industrial Location and Development di Vrije Universiteit Brussels, Belgia. Beliau juga memiliki beragam pengalaman profesionalnya untuk skala internasional, seperti pernah menjabat sebagai Duta Besar Thailand untuk Austria, Slovakia, dan Slovenia. dan juga pernah menjabat sebagai permanent representatif untuk PBB dan berbagai organisasi internasional lainnya. Sebelum akhirnya beliau diangkat menjadi Ketua Ombudsman Thailand pada tanggal 7 November 2021 hingga saat ini. Maka kepada Bapak Mr. Songsak Sechehua, waktu dan tempat dipersilahkan. Yes, the stage is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all as well. It's also, as Penny, it's a big challenge for me to speak 10 minutes in the very important topic. So however, I will try to give you a snapshot of what we have done in Thailand, in the Office of Thai Ombudsman, in the outreach strategy and outreach activities. First of all, I would like to give you a sort of a snapshot of our general approach or general strategy on the outreach strategy. First one, we try to inform the public, the communities and the people on what we do, the same as in New Zealand, to allow them to know more about the work of Ombudsman. Not only the English or the Swedish word Ombudsman is difficult to understand for the people. When we translate it into Thai, ผู้ตรวจการแผ่นดิน is something similar to Inspector General. So they think we are the inspector of each ministries, and they always ask us what we inspect. So not easy to sort of make the people understand all our work. And the second one, we try to customize our approach to all different target group, all different generation, baby boomer, X, Y, Z, and also to the general public, to the underrepresented group of the people, to the informal communities, if you like. There are a number of informal communities that not recognized by the government or the local authorities in Thailand, in Bangkok. The third general approach is inclusiveness and people-centered. So in undertaking the outreach strategies and activities, we very much focus on the people and the communities and the inclusiveness. And not only that, we also reach out to the government agencies. We organize a visit to each ministries to meet with the permanent secretary, the director general, and so on, and to inform them what we do. And the fourth one, in our outreach activity, we try to serve as a bridge between the government sector, government agencies, and the people and the civil society. And the fifth one, we also, in our outreach activity, we want to get the feedback from the people on what they think, what are their comments, recommendations on what we do, and what are the improvements they want to see the Ombudsman of Thailand do. And the last one, the sixth one, the outreach activities reflect the proactive approach of the undertaking of the Thai Ombudsman. We do not only waiting for the complaints coming from the people, but we go out and go to meet them to provide an opportunity for them to reflect their grievances, their unfair treatment that they encounter with the government agencies or the government officials. Then the purpose of the Ombudsman outreach program of Thailand, definitely we will try to enable the people to get more access, the accessibility to the service of the Ombudsman and also to the service of the government agencies and government officials in general. And also we try to provide them, to equip them, to empower them to know their own rights and also to know what are the channels available for them if they encountering the grievances, the unfair treatment, the difficulties of dealing with the government sector or the government officials. And then our outreach activity is also a part of the preventive measures of prevention. And then building trust is very important to do through the outreach activities. And the feedback collection, as I said, now we have two activities to get the feedback from the people. The first one, we undertake the survey every year to the different group of the people to know what they think about our work. And the second one, we organize a forum we call the Place of Justice 3 or 4 times a year in different provinces, and inviting the people, the community leaders, and also the local government, the local authorities to take part on that. The example of our outreach activity not only on reaching to the people, but also we working with a lot of medias in Thailand in reaching out to the general public. We work with the televisions, for example, the Thai PBS, which is very popular in terms of dealing with the public issues in Thailand. From time to time, they have invited us to join the program. And next year, we are exploring the possibility to have a joint program with Thai PBS TV. We also working with some other television station, for example, Television 3, which is very popular in Thailand, and also definitely through the radio program, a lot of radio program that we work with them through the newspaper, and also we distribute a lot of printing material online and offline to the different target group, as I mentioned. And we also use the digital technologies also to do the public relation and the public outreach activities, as we also discussed with New Zealand in a bilateral meeting yesterday, that we would like to sort of exchange the experience with New Zealand, also with other SEAOF and SEAOF Plus member as well. We have the website, and we have the web page or the Facebook with more and more people going to visit us in the website and in the web page. We are at the beginning to use the TikTok. So Ombudsman not is a kind of a teenage. We are not familiar with using TikTok. So we have to consult some expert on the TikTok, on the using the podcast, the YouTube station, and so on and so forth. We are at the starting point, but more and more, and we have found that it is very useful to reach out to the different target group and different generation, as I mentioned. We also have some cooperation with some very popular web page in Thailand that more than millions of people follow that page. So we have a sort of the cooperation with them as well. And the other example is the community outreach activities. We have the so-called mobile ombudsman unit in 4 types. The first one, we have the program called Ombudsman Care, which we, as you see, that we send out the mobile car with the team to reach out to the people in the communities. And then the second one, we have what we call the intake clinic. We have a group of the mobile officer from the office to go to different places to open for them to submit the complaint to us, not waiting only at the office, but we go to see them and also to advise them how they can submit the complaints to us or to other relevant complaint center or agencies. And the third one, every year at least 3 times a year, the three ombudsmen together, we go to visit the provinces. We call the Ombudsman, Mobile Ombudsman Program, to meet with the government agencies, with the communities, with the players, with the people, with the civil society, and so on. And the fourth one, we also, during the past 2-3 years, we have undertaken what we call the mobile ombudsman to visit different districts in Bangkok. There are 50 districts in Bangkok. During the past 3 years, we can only visit 16 out of 50 of districts in Bangkok. Even we have only one office situated in Bangkok. But it seems that the people in Bangkok don't know the ombudsman quite well. So that's why we come up with this kind of program, and it worked very well. And the other community-based outreach activity, for example, in the 3-4 provinces in the deep south of Thailand, which quite remote and very sensitive area, we now rely on the volunteer, the young volunteer there in the 3 provinces to work with them, because they effectively can reach out to the people because of the language and so on and so forth. So we now work with the 2 provinces, Pattani and Narathiwat. This year, we are going to work with the province of Yala, so in the deep south. The other targeted outreach program, when we undertake the mobile ombudsman in Bangkok, every time to the 16th of district, I took that opportunity to visit the vulnerable groups, go to the communities, and so on and so forth. So that's why we learned that a lot of the people, a lot of the vulnerable group, a lot of the elderly, a lot of the disabilities and the bedridden patients still cannot have access to the service of the government agencies. And the other example of outreach program we do with we have more than 100,000 what we call the business enterprises in the rural area. So they cannot also access to the financial services, the knowledge, or the capacity building, and so on and so forth. So we try to reach out to them. We already submit our recommendation to the government in coming up with a more comprehensive and holistic strategy in addressing their problem and support them, because they are at what we call the grassroots economy, so they are very important. And the next example, we also, along the same line as New Zealand, we go to school and university. So we are undertaking what we call the youth program, inviting the leader of the young people from the community, from the school, from the university, and organizing the training session for them. So we have done that for the past 2 years, and we will continue to do this more and more. The other example, the last one before I finish, as I mentioned to you, when I visited different districts in Bangkok, we have found that a lot of the vulnerable group still not have access to the government service, healthcare service, and so on and so forth. So we launched what we call the systemic investigation to explore how the vulnerable group, especially the elderly, the people with disabilities, and also the bedridden patients in Bangkok, to have more access to the service of the government agencies, both by the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration and by the central government agencies. So we have found that there are a number of agencies involved in providing the service to these vulnerable. So their work in silo. I mean, they need more coordination. They need more integrated approach. Thus, we just sent out our recommendation a few weeks ago to ask them, to request them to work in the more integrated manner. So we suggest to create a sort of the mechanism at the national level and also at the district level to have a better coordination among the key partners, the district office, the hospital, the clinic, the healthcare center, the foundation that work in that particular area, and also the community leaders and the volunteers in each district, and so on and so forth. So we hope that our recommendation that you see from the slide that can help them to have a more holistic approach. They still have different definition on what are the vulnerable groups that they should work out. So 10 agencies have 10 definitions. So the first step, how to find a common sort of definition and the scope of the vulnerable people and so on. And then later on, we suggest them to have a more integrated, holistic approach, and also to have a proactive activities to discover, to find out who are still the vulnerable group that don't have access to the government service or to the Bangkok Metropolitan Service and so on. So those are sort of the example and the work we have done on the outreach activities, which we think very important on the preventive side, on empowering the people, all target groups, and so on and so forth. So I thank you so much for that.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Mr. Songsak Chehua. Jadi memang fokusnya juga penjangkauan ya kepada kaum muda yang dilakukan oleh Ombudsman Thailand, juga proaktif menyebut laporan di masyarakat, jadi tidak hanya dia menunggu begitu. Kemudian juga banyak aktif kerjasama dengan berbagai media, ada TV pemerintah, radio, bahkan koran dan berbagai cetakan lainnya. Kemudian juga mulai aktif di TikTok ya, karena sama-sama kita tahu ya TikTok itu penjangkauannya luas sekali. Begitu, kemudian ada tadi mobile car ya yang juga keliling-keliling sampai ke distrik, sampai ke tingkat desa. Dan terakhir tadi yang juga menarik adalah program kunjungan ya sampai tingkat desa gitu untuk menjangkau masyarakat kelompok rentan seperti lansia, disabilitas gitu yang kesulitan dalam mengakses pelayanan dari pemerintah. Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Songsak Chehua. Nah, terakhir Bapak Ibu, ini gongnya ya dari Ombudsman Indonesia, Bapak YK Hendra Fatika yang selanjutnya akan memberikan pengalamannya dan berbagi praktik-praktik baiknya kepada kita semua. Beliau menamatkan studinya di Institut Pertanian Bogor, jurusan Sosial Ekonomi, Fakultas Pertanian, dan sebelumnya aktif sebagai Ketua Pusat Kajian Pertanian Pangan dan Advokasi Pataka, di mana isu pertanian ini pertanian dan pangan ya, dan juga sangat relevan dalam mendukung peran beliau sebagai pengampu keasistenan utama 3 yang antara lain membawahi sektor pertanian dan pangan. Dan juga kenapa beliau hadir bersama kita di sini, karena beliau merupakan pengampu dari Biro Humas dan Teknologi Informasi di Ombudsman RI ya, di mana di dalamnya terdapat berbagai program-program penjangkauan atau outreach berupa sosialisasi dan edukasi kepada masyarakat. Bapak YK Hendra Fatika merupakan salah satu pimpinan Ombudsman Republik Indonesia periode 2001 sampai 2006. Kepada Bapak YK Hendra Fatika, waktu dan tempat dipersilakan.
Saya hormati Ketua Ombudsman Republik Indonesia Pak Muhammad Najih, Wakil Ketua Ombudsman Indonesia Bapak Bobi Hamjarafinus, dan yang gagah Pak Robertus Naindi Jaweng, Ini ketiga ini bos-bos saya, para ibu bapak semuanya. Saya mau disclaimer dulu, karena saya bisa berdiri di sini, satu, saya bukan orang pinter, apalagi pinter ngomong bahasa Inggris. Jadi cara saya bisa berdiri di sini, satu, berani saja. Yang kedua, dipaksa oleh Pak Robert, karena ini di Jaweng. Jadi saya terpaksa hadir di sini. The Honorable Panelist, Mr. Jos Bameo, Deputy Ombudsman of the Republic of Philippines. Mr. Peter Boshier from Ombudsman of New Zealand. Mr. Ambrosio Graciano Suarez from Ombudsman for Human Rights and Justice of Timor-Leste. Mr. Songsak Saisusua from Ombudsman of Kingdom of Thailand. Our lovely moderator for this session, Ms. Dia Suryaningrum. And all participants who have joined at Le Meridian Hotel or from YouTube. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good day, and I wish good health to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yeka Hendrapatika, Ombudsman from Ombudsman of the Republic of Indonesia, who is in charge of overseeing public services in economic sector. At the Ombudsman, my responsibilities cover various important aspects of the economic, including trade, industry, logistics, agriculture and food, banking, insurance, and procurement. In addition, I also oversee aspects of taxation, customs, and related regulation. As the Ombudsman in this sector, I am committed to ensuring that every public services aspect in economic sectors runs well and is based on the principle of good governance. Honored guests, the Ombudsman of Republic Indonesia was established during the democratic transition era. The Ombudsman Republik Indonesia is a state institution tasked with overseeing the implementation of public services by government agencies, state-owned enterprise, local government-owned enterprise, and private entities that carry out public service function funded by state or local government budget. The Ombudsman stands to ensure that the public receive fair, transparent, and accountable services. Given the mandate to receive compliance, examine document, and provide recommendation, the Ombudsman plays a role in resolving its maladministration report, both through mediation and recommendation for improvement. The Ombudsman also plays a preventive role by providing advice to relevant institutions to prevent similar violation in the future. Dear honored guests, to build public trust, the Ombudsman of Republic Indonesia implements various strategies, including through intensive socialization and publication. The Ombudsman utilizes social media to interact directly with the public, as well as holding press conferences and issue press releases that becoming one of the Ombudsman's main tools to ensure openness and build public trust. Throughout the year until October 2024, the Ombudsman has held 30 press conferences with a total 21,946 news reports until September 2024. In addition, public discussion and seminars become means to convey the role, right, authority, and achievements of the Ombudsman, which aims to increase public understanding and trust on this institution. Ombudsman of the Republic Indonesia also handle public complaint professionally by prioritizing good governance principle. The complaint handling process involved four main approach. The first, public complaint handling, ombudsman on the spot, preventive studies about maladministration, of course, and investigation on own initiative. Public compliance and preventive studies focus on improving governance, while investigation on own initiative plays a role in driving systemic improvement in the public service, even for issues that have not been reported. All of these processes are conducted with transparency, accountability, and fairness in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2023, the Ombudsman received a total of 26,490 reports from the public, which were divided into several categories. Consultation, 15,348 reports. Public compliance, 7,392 reports. Copies, 2,655 reports. Quick response, 948 reports. And the last, investigation on own initiative, 118 investigation. This data shows that most of the incoming reports are in the form of consultation, while investigative and quick response reports occupy a smaller portion of the overall reports. From the total of 26,461 public complaints, resulted in final report of investigation result, with a total of 3,415 allegations of maladministration. Overall, the number of incoming complaints reached 8,458 with a total of 7,909 report resolved. The report completion rate reached 93.5%, demonstrating effectiveness in handling public complaint related to alleged maladministration during the year. Ladies and gentlemen, during the period 2021 to 2024, especially in economic sector, the Ombudsman of Republic Indonesia has succeeded in saving a total public loss of 26.26 million US dollar, around 69.8% of the potential loss estimate at 37.64 million US dollar. This success emphasizes the role of the Ombudsman as an institution that not only supervises, but also actively protects public rights. In handling public reports, the Ombudsman has successfully resolved various issues, such as maladministration cases in the issuance of import approval letter for horticultural commodities, maladministration cases in detention of imported goods by quarantine agency, and also ensuring the smooth distribution of subsidized fertilizer. The last case make 50 million non-ombudsman well right now. These successes not only provide direct benefits to the community, but also increase their understanding of the Ombudsman rules as a firm and responsive watchdog. Ladies and gentlemen, not only handling compliance, the Ombudsman also conducts preventive studies, maladministration studies, to prevent future maladministration. One successful example is a review public housing loan service from Bank Tabungan Negara, a state-owned bank, that facilitated the issuance of housing certificate for consumer and strengthened cooperation between BTN, Bank Tabungan Negara, and the Land Office. This review helps build a better system and give the public a sense of security that public service will continue to be improved. Finally, through investigation on own initiative, the Ombudsman oversees public studies, public policies, such as success story in the policy for live birth supply stability, to ensure that they do not harm poultry farmer and remain at the public interest. All the steps show that the Ombudsman does not just wait for reports, but also actively seeks and resolve problems to create better result. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to highlight the impact and benefits of the Ombudsman active role in building public trust. First, the Ombudsman recommendation have strengthened governance in public institutions by encouraging agencies to improve their internal system. Public services have become more effective, transparent, and accountable. As a result, the public gain access to fast and quality services, increasing overall public satisfaction. In addition, the Ombudsman role in maladministration prevention helps public agencies to perform their duties better, minimize administrative errors, and make services more accessible. The Ombudsman also play an important role in protecting people's rights. The Ombudsman become a place where people seek justice when they experience loss due to inadequate public services, so that the basic right of the community can be fulfilled. Finally, the Ombudsman's success in increasing public involvement can be seen from the increasingly active community in reporting maladministration and participating in monitoring public services. Ladies and gentlemen, data on public consultation from 2018 to 2023 shows a significant upward trend. In 2018, the number of consultations recorded was 1,382, which then increased to 15,348 in 2023, increasing significantly by around 1,000% in a period of 6 years. These trends show that the Ombudsman of Republic Indonesia is trusted and known by the public. The public increasingly believes that the Ombudsman is able to provide transparent and fair solutions. We have reached the final part of my presentation. As closing, I would like to emphasize that the Ombudsman's strategy in building public trust through handling public issues has contributed greatly to creating services that are guided by the principle of good governance. The proactive and responsive approach that we apply not only strengthens public trust, but also builds mutual trust between the Ombudsman, the government, the community. With this, we are confident that better and sustainable governance will be created for a more equitable community welfare. Thank you for your attention. Have a nice day. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak Pak YK Hendra Fatika. Jadi sedikit summary bahwa Ombudsman itu sudah Ombudsman Republik Indonesia sudah terbentuk sejak tahun 2000 ya sebagai pengawas pelayanan publik. Jadi kalau tadi pesan dari Pak YK adalah dengan berbagai banyak metode penyelesaian laporan masyarakat yang ada di Ombudsman ya seperti menerima laporan masyarakat secara reguler, kemudian melakukan on motion investigation, melakukan systemic review dan juga melakukan Ombudsman on the spot yaitu melakukan menjemput bola, kita juga menjemput bola, mendatangi masyarakat untuk menyampaikan pengaduan. Dan dapat terlihat dari tahun 2023 yang lalu ada sekitar 26.000 laporan masyarakat yang sampai ke Ombudsman Republik Indonesia dan itu selalu meningkat setiap tahunnya. Jadi peningkatan angka laporan masyarakat yang diterima Ombudsman membuktikan bahwa sebetulnya kepercayaan masyarakat sudah terbangun kepada Ombudsman dan tentunya kita terus menjaga kepercayaan masyarakat tersebut ya kepada kantor Ombudsman. Nah sebetulnya panitia di belakang sudah berteriak-teriak begitu, tapi barangkali mohon izin ada maybe only one question that you already answer my challenge for about presentation for about 10 minutes and now we challenge the audience as well. So maybe we can have more 10 minutes, is that okay? So maybe for the 2 questions from the audience. Yes, one from the front and maybe the other one. If there's any, if there's not, so it's okay. So, ya, Pak Justus silakan.
Thank you.
And I will hear from Mr. Justus.
My question to all the speakers that we know that social media currently has new power as a way for people to monitor governments on its abilities complain better. So the social media greatly influence society by creating influencing the formation of the public opinion. So as citizens, we tend to be really influenced by media. So the question is, how much influence does the ombudsman use social media to influence the government to making policies or decisions? So are there any examples that you handle these cases using the influence of social media to influence the governments to make making policies or decisions directly to campaign by the citizens using the social media? Thank you very much.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Justus. Mungkin saya tidak mengulang pertanyaannya kepada Pak Jose Balmio.
Good morning. Thank you for that question. Well, particularly in our office, in the Office of the Ombudsman Republic of the Philippines, we are mandated to act on any complaints. That's why we do monitor social media, which are very helpful in giving us leads to conduct investigation on possible graft and corruption cases. So really, it is a helpful tool in helping our office to become aware of other possible violations by public officers coming from the citizenry. So we have actually a department, which is the Fact-Finding Bureau, which monitors all other complaints other than those actually personally filed by citizens and those through the social media. And then we take the lead to conduct our own investigation to validate whether or not these supposed complaints are true or not, which may lead to a possible case that we can file in court. Thank you.
Just quickly, it's a very good question because people have changed in how they want to get their information. So in New Zealand, less use of newspapers, less use of television. So what we do, and I've already posted the fact that I'm here at this conference and have signed a declaration on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, because that's what people want to get their information. So quickly, if I give a decision which criticises an act of the government, we will draw attention to what we have done on social media so that people have access to our comment and our opinion on an act of maladministration.
Thank you, Pak. Silakan Pak Yeka.
Baik, saya tegas saja, sosial media ini penting tetapi bukan segalanya. Yang paling penting itu adalah bagaimana memastikan agar seluruh jajaran lembaga pemerintah peka dan mau menyelesaikan laporan masyarakat. Itu jauh yang terpenting. Terima kasih.
Okay, in PDHA context, Ombudsman of Timor Leste context, now we have one specialist of how to follow all information published by the media and make a recommendation to the provider, we call provider or chief of ombudsman. You know, our chief ombudsman right now, he's a former president of press council president, and monthly and quarterly we make meet the press to publish all information that we gather and how PDHA make interventions. For example, we if in our WhatsApp group, when we get some information from public about the violation of human rights or good governance, we directly our Directorate of Monitoring and Recommendation make and monitoring in 24 hours about the maladministration or malpractice that we found in the information in media, in social media. This is our activity. Thank you.
In the case of Thailand, I think along the same line with the ombudsman of other countries, using the social media mainly, we want to communicate with the public and the people, not to directly influence the government, but definitely when we communicate with the people, the public and the citizens, especially on what we have recommended to the government agency and so on, it may have a sort of indirect influence to the government agencies, but not the direct one, because indirectly influence the government agencies, we have to send the official recommendation to them. So the social media, rather the instrument to reach out to the public, to the citizen, to keep them informed of what we do. Thank you.
Baik, aku semua narasumber kita.
Okay, thank you so much for
to moderate these sessions, and thank you so much for all the moderators for all the inspiring presentation. Dan semoga segala praktik baik yang tadi telah dibagikan oleh para narasumber
that we've heard from our speakers today, that we can really take that on and that inspires us and we can actually implement that in our
Kami segera mengakhiri forum sesi ini. Kami mohon maaf apabila dalam mengantarkan sesi diskusi ini ada hal-hal yang kurang berkenan. Sekali lagi kami ucapkan juga terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu para hadirin, dan akhir kata saya beserta 5 speaker yang ada di atas dan juga Konul TV dari Ondel-Ondel pamit dari ada Bapak Ibu semua. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih untuk Ibu Diah Suryaningrum yang telah memimpin seminar sesi kedua ini. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this seminar. I hope you all have enjoyed the presentation and the discussion from the speakers and guests. Bapak Ibu, kami persilahkan. Dengan berakhirnya sesi kedua ini, berakhir pula seluruh rangkaian seminar Southeast Asian Ombudsman Forum. Dan kami segenap panitia mengucapkan terima kasih atas segala perhatian. We hope to see you again in our next seminar. Thank you and have a great day. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.